Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Everything EPL. Well, EPL hasn't happened for a while. After that up and down week, with Arsenal, Man City, and Tottenham winning, and all of this stuff that happened, and then there's the FA Cup happened, and Tottenham got dismantled by Chelsea, not score wise, but playing wise. I'm here with my friend Jackson. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mo. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm getting ready for this Man United Aston Villa game after the show,
Hmm.
and also waiting for the EPL to come back tomorrow and the day after, and because I missed the Premier League, man. I missed the Premier League. So we're here today, guys, to just talk about is Man City when is Man City we think might lose points? Is Liverpool going to chase them, or they just gonna secure the second position and live with it, or the Chelsea are gonna try to come back and win because Chelsea play Man City and they might win and back title races back. Who's gonna get top four? This is something that we need to find out. Jackson has an opinion. I have a different opinion, but we'll see how it is. And the relegation battle, is it basically 3 out of 4 and is it done, or there is still some games to play? Please, if you're here and if you're watching this, like this video, subscribe to our channel. We'll try to get you the best content out there. We cover Premier League, all the major leagues, Serie A, La Liga. There are different shows every day. We try to cover all the leagues. But I'm here with Jackson. We only cover Premier League, me and Jackson here. And Jackson, I'm going to start right away and ask you, is this title race over?
I I want to say no, right? Because it's still like we just passed the halfway point. You don't to say it's over that early would be kind of disappointing, but it's almost looking that way. I think it's inevitable that City are going to eventually drop points. The big question is to who. It'll probably come on a day where City's not at it, but I mean, when they drop points, you're going to need Chelsea and Liverpool, or just one of them to have a better run of form and not really drop any points like both clubs have a little bit in the recent past. Because I don't know about you, but I don't really see City dropping too many points going on for in the rest of the season. Maybe when Champions League starts to kick back up and City puts a lot of their focus on the Champions League, but just right now they're in incredible form.
So to put this in perspective, to be honest, it's as simple as that. City are 10 points ahead of Chelsea and 11 points ahead of Liverpool, and they have Liverpool at a game in hand. So imagine that Liverpool are going to win this game and they're going to be 45 points and they're going to be 8 points only behind City. Looking at Man City's fixtures, and if I look at that, I see Man City going to play in the next 2 months. I only see Man City maybe dropping point at Chelsea. They're not playing at Chelsea, they're playing at the Etihad, and
Mhm.
they're but Chelsea, they can pull out a lot of stuff. Chelsea is still a great team here. Chelsea is a very good team, and they can get a result out of City. But after that, they're playing Tottenham, which is I think Antonio Conte can pull an upset if we can call that, and they're playing Manchester United. So basically, I can see Man City dropping point. Do you see Man City dropping point against any of these teams since they play Sporting Lisbon before Tottenham, and they play Manchester United before they go to Sporting Lisbon again? So do you see them dropping point there, or is it too far? The City team is so good that they won't drop any points.
I mean, just on paper, if you're looking at the recent forms of all the clubs, I'll talk about Chelsea in a second. But out of the other clubs, I'm just going to say no. Going back to my earlier point, I think it's just going to, if they drop points, it's going to become because City comes out flat. They're not their usual selves. There's like a big error, like a personal error on a player that just leads to a bad goal. But no, I can't. I do think Chelsea maybe has a chance to take points away, but like you said, it's at the Etihad. That's a bias for me, of course, because I'm a big Chelsea supporter. But that game will be interesting. But if City can, dominates that game and they take all 3 points easily, I think that's really going to set a precedent for City for the rest of the season. And that might just lock it up right there.
So, in my opinion, I think if City gets 6 points out of the 9 against Tottenham, Chelsea, and Man United, they win the league. This is just because after this, I'm looking at their fixtures, and I just see they play Liverpool, yes, but that's the only game. Maybe West Ham away, but at that point, Who knows
Hmm.
that Liverpool might drop points or not? But to be honest with you, as I see this City team is they're ruthless. They don't drop points. This team is a machine that they're just gonna march into this title. And do you think, from your point of view, this makes this league boring, or it is still exciting seeing the top four and other stuff? You wanted the title race, of course, because you support Chelsea. However, if you were a neutral like myself, I really wanted the title race, and I was hoping that this is going to be the epic title race between three teams that we haven't seen for a
Hmm.
while. Do you
Hmm.
think this is boring? What does Liverpool and Chelsea have to do next season to be closer to City, assuming that City are going to do what you just said and just walk this league?
Hmm. Well, if you're again, like I said, it's not entirely in the bag that City wanted, but it's starting to look that way. If you're looking just at the title race, yeah, it could be a little boring, but I think there's going to be a pretty intense battle for that fourth position that'll come down, maybe even the last day relegation battle. There's going to be a lot of teams fighting for that. I think that's honestly much more interesting than the title race about which teams are going to go down. So it really just depends on how you look at it. And for what teams like Chelsea and Liverpool need to do is maybe just try to match City in terms of their depth, which is a lot easier said than done. Because we look at all these fixtures coming up, and where a lot of teams are dropping points is because you say, oh, like um, they had three starters that are out due to injury or COVID or this, that, or the other, and they can't field their normal full strength squad. Whereas if City has injuries or they haven't really had a
It
COVID
doesn't
problem,
matter.
but
It
yeah, I
doesn't
mean, then
matter.
they can just take De Bruyne and Mahrez off the bench, and no problem, right? So that's going to be the real the the best way they can compete. Because if you look at City, no one really gets injuries there because the Pep's rotation is just it's so well.
Yeah, they don't have a Salah that plays every single minute, and they don't have a Van Dijk that gets injured because he plays every single minute, and they rely on him. They don't have that. Maybe
Mhm.
Diaz, but who presses City to put pressure on Diaz? Nobody. So Diaz is actually having a vacation every game, in my opinion. He gets a two cleans or like two like clears or something, and but that's it. That's about it. Like it's the same as Edison, different than Allison. Edison gets the whole game without even one save, and this is why the City team, as you said, they don't get injuries. And maybe just teams need to buy players, but you need to buy good quality players.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go to Chelsea and tell you that and ask you that what do you think? What's your take on Chelsea's season? Is it gonna be a failure if they don't win the title? And where does it stop at the Champions League to say this is a success, or it's only gonna be if they win the Champions League?
I don't think it's going to be a failure if Chelsea don't win the league. I think it would be considered a failure if we don't finish top four, but I don't think that will happen. I think top four will definitely be something Chelsea achieves. And for the Champions League, with how they've been doing in tournaments, I think they at least got to reach the final. Um,
Wow, you're saying
yeah,
that if Chelsea don't reach the final, that's a failure in the Champions League. Assume there is
failure is
Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and Man City, and you're saying that Chelsea is at least better than two of these three teams.
I would say so. Yeah. Um,
Wow, that's a great.
it's a tournament. There's a lot of factors that go into it. I don't failure is a harsh word, but I'm just saying like I would like to see us get back in the Champions League final. I think we definitely have the team to do it. But as you can see, the loss of Chilwell and Reece James are they're two players who are very hard to replace right now. And Tuchel's kind of tweaking the system every game. It seems like till he finds his sweet spot on where the players he can find that will be a good replacement to him. I think the Lukaku messes in the past. It seems like Tuchel's put his faith back in him again, giving him minutes again. So I hope that's gone. Right now, the biggest concern for me is defense, and then obviously we lose Mendy for a few games due to Afcon, so that will be tough, especially going into City. But yeah, I think if we can get those things sorted out, there shouldn't be too much of an issue.
So how about Lukaku? Do you think he can get a double digit this season, or because people attacked Lukaku a lot in that last game against the Spurs, and then I thought Lukaku did not do bad, assuming he's coming from all the mess. But a lot of people said he had a stinker of a game. It was not great. A lot of people said that.
Well, I think in that point, I don't think that would have been said if everything wasn't going on already, because he was already under such scrutiny and everything he was doing is under a microscope. When he's in, I think he's just a great player for this Chelsea system that Tuchel has set up. I've been saying that for a while, just because the way his hold up play is fantastic, and he draws defenders to him, and he creates space for the wingers, which is very crucial to this Chelsea system. So I think he's still a great player, and I still have a lot of faith in him. Obviously,
Lukaku.
I wasn't I
Do you
wasn't too
rate Lukaku as one of the top 5 strikers in the world at the moment?
at the moment. I mean, that's a little tough, just because he hasn't been in form recently, just because he's had there's the injury and then he had COVID, so that's tough. But I mean, if you in the beginning of the season, he was putting up numbers right off the bat, and then obviously he had a great spell at Inter. Um, so
Yeah, but
maybe
that's last year. Yeah, he
yeah,
was top 3, top 5 last year, but not this
I'm
year, to
saying
be
that right
honest with
now in
you.
the current moment, I would have to say no, just not necessarily anything against the form. He just hasn't really been in the scene too much lately. You know what I mean? So maybe give him a couple months and see where he's at then.
I believe Lukaku will give Chelsea a lot, to be honest. He just
If he
once he gets
stays.
into the system, yes, once he gets into the system and he plays his football, I think he's going to be great for this team, and I think he's going to add a lot to this team. I'm
Yeah.
going to move to Liverpool. So Salah is in AFCON. They skipped the Arsenal game in the FA Cup. They played them this week. So I'm looking at a Liverpool schedule. I'm not sure if you have it in front of you. I have Liverpool schedule in front of me. And
I was
after the
looking at
Carabao Cup, okay, they basically, I don't see them dropping points at
Mhm.
any game until April. And that's why I feel like this team still has a chance, maybe against Tottenham. But April, they play Man City. And that's the only game I see Liverpool dropping points. What about you?
No, I was looking at the schedule too, and just as a Chelsea fan, I was a little disappointed because I was looking at those fixtures and I thought the same thing. I'm like, who's going to take the points off of them? So I get, in terms of making the title race interesting, if Chelsea takes some points off of Man City, and then Man City maybe has
Before
a
you go
fumble.
down, I want to answer Chris's question here because you're a Chelsea fan. He's saying that Chelsea is crying over 2 players missing. The thing about it, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that 3-5-2 system or 3-4-3 system relies a lot on the wing backs. And if you don't have a quality of wing backs, you lose
Mhm.
half of your team. To be honest, it's the same as when Inter didn't have Hakimi, when Conte now doesn't have uh Reguilon on the left. And he has Emerson Royal on the right. And this is why people are saying, yeah, Chelsea fans are crying about missing 2 starters and they have Alonso. Tell me, is that true that it's just about the system and Tuchel? We saw against Tottenham, when he switched to 4 in the back, everything went well because you don't need the wing backs.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at where a lot of the goal contributions come from, or even like where the play starts, when Chilwell and Reese were in form, so much of the play was coming from them. Also, a couple weeks back, there was a bad COVID issue in the Chelsea locker room, and Tuchel asked for one of the games to be postponed, and the league denied it. So that was tough. That week, that was an especially rough one. We had more than 2 starters out. I see his point, though. I see there's merit in it, because injuries are part of a season. Every team has to go through it. But it's more so just saying those are 2 very, very crucial players in the Chelsea system right now. To your point with the 3 back,
I'll
4 back
tell you.
is a little
I'll tell
different.
you the difference. I'll tell you the difference, from my opinion, between someone like City and someone like and a team like Chelsea. When Zinchenko play on the left side, or Nathan Ake, they are not actually a great players. They might not start in a Chelsea or a Liverpool or a Man United team, but because of the system that Guardiola plays, it makes them look okay. They pass the test. Every time Nathan Ake plays, he's not bad, but he's not great as well. So Chris keeps commenting on Chelsea blaming the virus and the league because if you can be a mediocre and worse teams in the league, there is no excuse when they spend that much money. This I agree with. I'm not a Chelsea supporter. You cannot spend millions on Werner, Havertz, Lukaku, Ziyech, right? We're talking about Chilwell. You bought Chilwell. Who else? Like, you can tell me Mendy, Ariza Balaga before, then Mendy. You cannot expect me to sit here and have sympathy with your team If you spend billion, million, I think they spent about 500, half $1 billion in the last 3 years, and you tell me I got injuries. This is what I don't get. We don't have depth. A lot of Chelsea fans, they say we don't have depth. Man City do that. Man City do this, but you spent $500 million, so it's unfair. You spend it in the wrong way. It's the club's problem that you buy too many midfielders or
I was
forwards.
Yeah, I was no, I mean, there's definitely some merit there. I wasn't completely blaming the virus because what I was saying, a lot of Chelsea fans were upset a little bit with the inconsistency because Chelsea had 5 consecutive back-to-back days of positive tests every day, and Tuchel is kind of like, how do you expect the team to get the virus situation under control if we have to play and travel, sit on a bus for 4 hours with everyone together? Something's going to go wrong. Luckily, it didn't get much worse, but I'm not. I agree. I was just saying there was a bit of a hardship with some of the players we had to have out.
Okay, I'm gonna switch to Liverpool, Chris. Now, so as we said, Liverpool. Do you see them dropping points? Do you have this non-assurance about Liverpool as much of the Liverpool fans when they say, "Yeah, we're gonna drop points here"? Do you see them drop points to Man United, West Ham, because they play both teams home?
Yeah, right off the bat, just look like on paper, I'd say no, but for me, West Ham and Man United recently have been very unpredictable. Like you don't know what kind of West Ham or Man United you're going to get until that game starts because on certain days both teams could take points away from Liverpool, but they need to be in very good form. A lot would need to go right for them, and right now I just don't see that going well with some of the injuries West Ham has, and also we know the United dressing room is in shambles. There's no chemistry in that club right now, so that's tough. So I'm gonna say Liverpool will take the 6 points out of those games.
So that means that Liverpool might be 2, 3 points behind City comes April before they play them. Chris, can you, if anybody's here, please like the video. Just hit that like button below. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and just share the video on your socials. The league. I want to talk about Liverpool and the way they play and Salah. I have this guy Mo Salah who actually contributes to more than I think he contributed to more than 33 goals this season for
Mhm.
Liverpool. That's a sign of a not good team, to be honest with you, because you are one injury away from probably 30 to 40% of your goals out. That only it was really good in Barcelona because they had Messi and Messi was really walking the league in La Liga. But Salah doesn't do that, and we will see if when they play against Arsenal without Mane and without Salah how they do. But to be honest, I don't see Liverpool winning the league because they don't have any depth up front at all, completely.
Well, I think that's a little tough because it's not like Liverpool doesn't create chances when they're void of Salah. I think when you have a right side of Mohamed Salah and Trent, who add so much attacking prowess, you're gonna want to favor that side. Liverpool still gets goals elsewhere. They still create chances elsewhere. If you took Salah out of the side, yes, that would definitely hurt the team. But I don't think Liverpool's the kind of side where, like, if Salah's not there, they're going to be useless. You know what I mean?
But take Salah out, take Mane out. Where the goals are gonna come? Diego Jota, maybe Diego Jota, Firmino. But to be honest with you, there are some cracks in this Liverpool team. We have seen cracks in the
Yeah.
defense in this Liverpool team, and
Yes.
people, Liverpool fans, don't want to admit that. They don't want to admit that there is a gap. They don't want to admit that Trent. It's not. It's the clubs. Actually, I can't say this is an only. It's not on Trent. It's not on Robertson. It's not on Tsimikas. It's on the system. The system is so much at going forward that you need your midfielders to be fit and to be very, very, very good every time because there are no coverage. You need the two midfielders to cover a lot behind the fullbacks. And we've seen Henderson slacking lately, and this is why that side of Trent gets exposed. But a lot of people say it's Trent's fault. I think it's just a system fault.
I think you bring up a good point. Also, to your point, also Fabinho has really put in some incredible performances this season. Yeah, like you said, the formation is very open to the counter attack. I'm kind of a bit on the train where Trent is a little lacking defensively. I don't think anyone can take away in the slightest away from his offensive ability. But sometimes when I watch the games or how Liverpool gets scored on, Trent isn't holding the line. He gets beat a little too easily. It's some sloppy defending. Um, so that's something you have to take into account. But obviously, with the help he puts in going forward, it's tough to say with Trent.
I wanna bring up Chris's comment here about Inter, to be honest with you. And I wanna ask you something. You're not associated with Serie A at all. Do you think Inter have a chance of getting anything out of this tie against Liverpool?
I mean, I think it could be tough because, like you said, I don't watch Serie A too much. I think if they can find a way to exploit the Liverpool system and hit them quick on the counter. I know they definitely have some of the personnel to do that, but also it's just tough to say with the two systems. I'm going to favor Liverpool in that. I think 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Liverpool probably have 90% chance of winning the league. Please, guys, like the video. We want to get these likes up a little bit. And I want to go back to Liverpool. And is Van Dijk falling? Because he's now, I think he's going to be 33 or something next year. So where do they go from this? I know they signed Konate. They have Matip, who's still getting older a little bit. He's going into 30s. So does Liverpool have a hard time after Klopp, Van Dijk, Salah, Mane, these guys? They have a very, very busy time coming in that they have to replace all these players. So where do you see past the season? What do you think is going to happen?
I'm not sure because I was wondering that myself the other day because like you said you just named a list of absolutely class players who, in their prime are just incredible, but how do you replace them? I don't think you're going to find three players who can come in and like do a X, Y, and Z swap for Salah, Mane, and Van Dijk. There's going to need to be a system change that will play to the new players' strengths better, right? Because you can't find three people to bring in immediately and just keep that same system. So it'll be interesting to see. I wonder if they're going to rely on their youngsters or bring in outside personnel. So we'll see.
Do you think any, just a last question on the second place team, do you think any of them can challenge City? And do you see any of them dropping for a a challenge on the top four?
Who
Chelsea
are you
and
talking about?
Liverpool.
Do I see them dropping out of the top four?
No, 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 dropping to like a challenge in the top four, like a top four challenge with Arsenal, Tottenham, or Man United.
I'm sorry. What do you mean by that,
You
Mo?
don't think any of the Chelsea and Liverpool might drop out of top four?
Oh no, I don't. Right now, no. I think the top three is just about solidified.
So they're not going to get dragged into a top four contention.
No, no, I don't think so. I think the race for the fourth spot is going to be
Yeah,
very interesting and exciting. But no, I think those three are definitely in there for sure.
that's what I want to talk about next. Who do you think is favorite to get that fourth position?
Right now, I mean, if everyone holds their form, I'm gonna say Arsenal, because we know Man U is like not consistent at all. They're looking really shaky. Tottenham has their shaky moments, but they are looking a lot better under Conte. But Arsenal right now, I think their system is finally starting to click under Arteta. I think he's really getting it together.
I'm
I
just
wish
gonna put
that
this out there for you. I'm just gonna put this out there for the fans for you. If Tottenham win at home against Arsenal, they are 1 point ahead with 2 games in hand. This
mhm.
is something people don't talk about. This people don't talk about Arsenal, about Tottenham might be able to win against Arsenal and be ahead of them with games in hand. Games in hand are not guaranteed, but a lot of people say the form. That's because Tottenham win 1-0, but we know that Antonio Conte can win 13, 14 games in a row, 1-0, 2-1. But
No, I know that. I'm just looking at the players right now. I actually have a lot more faith in Arsenal right now than I have in the past few years. I think they're looking really good. I wish that Gabriel didn't get that red card against City. I would have that game would have been very interesting to see how that played out.
but they lost their head. It's a right red.
Yeah.
It's a correct red card. It was a correct call, and we're not here to talk about it. But it was a really correct call. But it's part of the game. Losing your head is part of the game. And that's why I think this Arsenal team, some of the players might lose their heads in games they crack under pressure. That's my only thing. Like they don't have the leader, and if they're Zaka is not great as a captain. The guy has his faults. Aubameyang is out of the squad right now, so this is why I think like this Antonio Conte team, maybe not the greatest team. It's not even close to Arsenal's level in terms of defense or midfield. However, I think that the ship itself, I feel like the ship itself has a leader. Harry Kane is a leader on the field.
Yeah, but
Okay,
he's been kind of a ghost recently in his past few games. He just hasn't. I don't necessarily know if you can blame Kane, but he just hasn't been getting the ball. The standout player for Spurs right now is Lucas Moura, and you know,
which
he-
tells you that they can hit you from some other places. Listen, in that I know that that Chelsea game was strange. I know that that Chelsea game was very strange when they got dominated. But that's not how they play. If you watch their games, they dominate the games. If they hit on the counter, they for somehow they were very very tired, and this is what you're not gonna get from Antonio Conte. The problem is his system relies on running a lot, and he actually played 9 out of 11 players the game before in the league before he played Chelsea. Chelsea were able to change 7 players. I think 6 or 7 plays. And that's the difference. We saw Son not interested. He couldn't run. We saw Kane not interested. He couldn't run. So that I think that was the problem. But in the league, he's going to give everything in the league, Antonio Conte. And it shows that they play until the last minute when they want to get against Watford in the last minute. We're taking Manchester United out of the equation until they solve the problem. Because until this moment, Manchester United have a problem in the dressing room. We don't hear that
Mhm.
in Arsenal. We don't hear that in Tottenham. So I'm talking about, in my opinion, it's between Arsenal and Tottenham at the moment. I know that you say Arsenal are closer because of their form. But I see Tottenham still, if they win against Arsenal, no one can tell me that they're not closer to the fourth position. Am I wrong here?
no, you're not. But I'm saying I don't know if they'll get those 3 points against Arsenal.
Hmm.
That's gonna be that's a big if for Spurs right now.
Do you think this is the biggest game of the season for both teams, Arsenal and Tottenham? That if Arsenal win that, they put their one foot in the Champions League for next season.
Yes, I do. I think it absolutely. Again, the one thing that's weird is because we never really see this before the games in hand, and we don't know how those will play out. But I know if Spurs do take the 3 points over Arsenal, that's really going to put a lot of pressure on Arsenal. And like you said, we'll see if they start to crack with all those youngsters because they know that they're now 1 point behind, and Tottenham have 2 games in hand. But for me, if I think Arsenal is going to take the 3 points against Spurs.
How about Man United? Do you see Manchester United doing anything in this title race, in this top four race?
I mean,
You
it's
know they
so
don't
hard
have
to
a lot.
spoil them.
They don't have a lot of tough games until March. They have like 5 winnable games, to be honest, in my opinion. Other than West Ham, which is still they play home, so they play Burnley, they play Brentford, they play Aston Villa. They have like six,
Mhm.
7 games that are winnable, and then we're not going to be talking about Man United being shit
Yeah.
until they play City. We might be talking about, Man United are back because they won all these games.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say right now, but just because I don't know how these things in the locker room are going to play out. I don't know if someone's going to decide to leave, if there's going to be any disciplinary issues, and players are out of the side for a little bit. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And as we know, especially in the Prem, team chemistry is very important. Um, so if that's lacking, performances can go downhill very
People
very
say Man
quickly.
United are way okay. So this is my thing. People think Man United are way far from being a good team. They have really good players. They just need a good system, to be honest. It's not that bad. I'm sorry. Can anybody tell me you have Cristiano Ronaldo, you have Bruno Fernandez, you have Greenwood, you have Paul Pogba, who's injured, is not a bad player. And people will say Luke Shaw is bad. He's not bad. He's probably top 4 left backs in the league. There's nobody like that. There's not a lot of left backs that are really, really good in this league. But I think it's a coach's problem. If they get a coach, I think they start winning. But I'm actually don't think that Man United will make top 4 at all. However, if they get their shit together and they start winning games, I think it's gonna be we're gonna have a three-way race for that fourth position. To be honest,
Yeah, again, I think it's a big if. If Man United get their shit together, yeah, that can happen. But I don't think it'll happen right now because I don't know if it's necessarily a coach's problem. It could be, but I think a lot of it comes down to the players, especially with all these leaks you're hearing. It sounds like just the Man U locker room right now is not a good place. It's not too supportive. There's no bonds. It's just it's in shambles.
so people said that like Chris is saying, it's been destroyed. The group will never work. Do you think this group is done? Like this group cannot work together anymore. They need a lot of replacements in a lot of places on the field.
I mean, it's tough, obviously, because we're not the ones in the locker room. But I mean, if everything that's coming out is true, I'd say so. Something needs to change. I don't think just time will fix it. I think there needs to be some hard changes in there, um, and I don't know where it is. I mean, for me, I would change some of the players in the defense and maybe get
But
rid
they
of some
have
of the.
Rafael Varane. They signed Rafael Varane. Diego Dallo is not that bad. But again, Diego Dallo is not a top player. But they signed a 50 million pound right back in Wan Bissaka. For somehow somebody thought that this guy Wan Bissaka is worth 50 million pounds,
I
which is
think
kind of
Wan-Bissaka
strange.
is great.
But he's not a 50. I'm sorry. Every time I watch Wan Bissaka, I ask myself, who chose this kid as a youngster to play football? The guy has no touch whatsoever.
He's for me, he's almost kinda like the opposite of Trent, like, yet he struggles going forward, his touch isn't the best, his dribbling ability isn't the best, but if you look at just one-on-one defenders, Wan-Bissaka for me is just top 5 one-on-one
But in
defenders.
modern football, Jackson, in modern football, it's not only a one-on-one defender. You need your fullback to be able to cross. It's an essential thing in the job. To be honest, is yes, he's the greatest one-on-one defender out of all of them, but he's awful going forward. He's absolutely terrible. And the modern
That's harsh.
fullback, maybe
Past seasons, he's been real bad going forward. This season, you've definitely seen some improvement. I actually am a big fan of Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a great player, and
wow.
I think he still has a lot of potential to be unlocked. I don't think I think he's only gonna get better, personally. I'm a big fan of his.
Last thing is West Ham. Do we think West Ham have any
He's
chance
not
of this
awful.
shit?
Sorry, what'd you say?
Do we think West Ham have any chance of this?
No. No.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, that's
Oh
harsh.
my
I shouldn't
wow.
say that, but I don't think they're gonna be challenging. I think they're gonna challenge, but I don't think they're gonna be pushing as hard as Tottenham or Arsenal. Because in the beginning of the season, we saw them come out. They were really good. You know, they were very impressive. Everyone was talking about them, and then they're a classic example of a team who finds themselves in the Prem without without a lot of depth, and they start to struggle once they get some injuries. That's literally just what they're not that deep.
I'm laughing at this comment here.
Yeah, no, I agree with Chris completely there. Someone's cousin can play better than Maguire, but
Anyway, I think West Ham they have an easy schedule to be honest until I think until they play. I think until they play Liverpool away, they play Man United away as well. So it's a very tough game for both teams, and it's a defining game. But it's in Old Trafford, so I think that's a very defining game. Man United West Ham in about a week or two. So
yeah.
I think this is might define both seasons to be honest. But I still think West Ham might come on if Manchester United do not get their group together in the next two games. I think West Ham have a bigger chance of winning this game and challenge Arsenal because they don't have a lot of tough games after this, to be honest, until they play Liverpool.
Yeah, I
So
agree. The one thing that makes him unpredictable for me is if you look at teams like Chelsea, Liverpool, or City, no matter who they're playing, they play their system. They always are able to find their flow. West Ham, I realized a lot of times plays to the level of their opponent, um, and that kind of just dictates how they play. If that makes any sense, they just match their intensity. A lot of times they don't have their own like style, their own rhythm. Uh, so I find it's hard to predict the West Ham games.
it's very hard. Yes, I agree. So Bruno Fernandez is the one that got them second place, like that got them like up last season. To be honest with you, I think his form has dipped a lot this year. Like it was, I think he's not great anymore. I think The group is not helping him. Cristiano Ronaldo being there doesn't help him because the focus on Cristiano Ronaldo most of the time, and that's something that is not helping Bruno Fernandez. Last thing is the relegation battle. It's as simple as, is it 3 out of 4, and who has the better chance of surviving? To be honest,
Hmm. It's tough. I could honestly see the bottom three right now going down. I think Norwich is for sure going down. I know a lot of people want Newcastle to both be relegated and stay in the league just because of the new money they came into, but I think they're going down. I think Watford is going to stay up, and if anyone that's out of the relegation zone right now who might go in, I think Leeds might struggle to stay in there.
Leeds are a little bit ahead of the pack. To be honest with you,
Eight
this is
points.
one of
Yeah.
yeah. So it depends. Like Burnley, they have 2 games in hand, I guess. So if they win these, they are above Watford, but Burnley, they're not in good form. They haven't won in ages. But I see Newcastle pulling out of these. I see Newcastle signing players and getting out, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, have they signed anyone other than Trippier?
Not yet. Not yet. It's very hard to attract players when you're second to bottom in the Premier League, to be honest. It doesn't matter how much money you offer them unless you're Kieran Trippier, who doesn't care about Champions League. It's the only player in
Yeah.
the world that doesn't care about Champions League, to be honest with you.
I- He's actually a decent signing for them because their defense is really what's struggling. So
I
adding
thought they would go for a center back, Jackson.
same here, but I think just anyone to help solidify that defense and give it some more organization will be a good signing for them. But I mean,
So
I don't know if a right back is enough to save you from relegation.
no, I think they need a center back, a midfielder, and actually a forward to replace Wilson, who's always injured. To be honest with you, do we see do we see Burnley with Sean Dyche staying in the league this year
No.
because they play good football now? Do you know, like you remember when we say don't be Burnley before? Now
Yeah.
they play good football and
No,
expansive, and that's why they lose.
no, they don't. They still just rely on like just kick it and run. Like they hope to get corners and set pieces and then get
Yeah,
some
but
headers.
again, it's Man United. They tried to play, and that's why they lost. To be honest, they were wide open. So I think Burnley, but to be honest, I don't think they will get anywhere. To be honest, this year,
I
Burnley.
don't. No, I don't either.
Anyway, so the next games, I want to get a prediction of the next games in the Premier League, and just as simple as Everton. Do we see Everton getting dragged into the relegation battle at all?
Relegation, no, but I I don't think they're gonna do anything much crazier for the rest of the season. But I don't think relegation's a worry for them.
Who's favorites for Man City and Chelsea this weekend?
Oh man,
No,
that's tough. I mean, I want to say Chelsea, but I think I think you have to say City there a little bit. But I do think depending on the system and the personnel Tuchel comes out with, it could be a very interesting game. I'd like to
so
see.
you
I'd
think
like to
Chelsea
see.
can get something out? So you
Oh,
think Chelsea can
absolutely.
get something out?
Absolutely. I would personally like to see Werner in the lineup against City. I think he would be a really good distraction to that City defense, especially if he was playing out on the wing. I think he would be a good I think yeah, I would like to see Werner in that lineup.
What about Tottenham and Arsenal? Do you think I think you said that Arsenal are favorites.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
still think Arsenal are favorites,
Yeah, I do.
even after the shambolic loss yesterday to Nottingham Forest?
Yes. I do. I think maybe they got that out of their system. I just Spurs, like, yes, have been playing well under Conte, but I don't see anything like overly inspiring about their play right now. With Arsenal, I feel like those players have something to play for right now. I like where they're going. I think they're all buying into Peta. I think they have momentum, whereas Spurs are trying to build it up. They're not quite there yet.
Okay. Okay, can we, guys, please, if you're here, please like the video, hit that like button right below, and comment if you want. Tell us what you think. Who's gonna make top four? And I think that's it for today. And thank you all for watching, and thank you for subscribing. You can get the audio version on any platform in Google, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Jackson, anything you want to add at the end?
No, I'm just hoping for City to
A
lose
win.
3 points to Chelsea here.
Okay, we all hope that because I want to see a title race. So thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Jackson, for coming as always.
Of course, thank you for having me, Mo.
Great discussion with you. Thank you so much, guys, and hopefully to see you soon.